This video has been sponsored by ZATU Games. Whether you're into board games, RPGs or video games, check out the website and enjoy indulging in your favourite hobby. Hi everybody, I'm Luke Hector from the Broken Meeple, and as always, remember to please leave a like and a comment in the video when you're done watching. I like to engage with my community on a personal level, and if you want to help out the channel in even just a small margin way, then the Patreon campaign is always running. I'd love to see you there. So this is a bit of a different top 5 to what I'm used to doing, because normally I do a solo top 10 or I do a collaboration with other people. This time I've collaborated with ZATU in light of the Christmas season to bring you this special top 5 for top 5 stocking stuffers. If I wanted to, I could do a top 20 stocking stuffers. There's a ton of them out there, but the two of us have worked together to come up with a list of 5 that not only do ZATU stock, but also that I believe, you know what, these are 5 really good stocking stuffers that you should consider for, you know, filling up somebody's life at Christmas. Now, we have not necessarily ranked them together, so I've essentially ranked them by my own personal favourite, and of course you might think, well, hang on, I need more than 5, you know, I need more than 5 games. Well, that's because I'm going to suggest some alternatives to those as well, just to say, these are really good, but in case you've already got these, or maybe this isn't kind of your thing, here's something of a similar note that maybe you'd want to consider as well. So you're getting 10 games for the price of 5, basically. We'll call it a special deal because it's Christmas. And if that wasn't enough, you're definitely going to check out the last part of this video after I'm done with the top 5 list, because if you want to own some of these games, there's a chance for you to do so. But without further ado, let's crack on.
Get on with it.
So first up, we've got probably the largest game in this list that's going to be suitable for a stocking. Now, I know this will fit in stockings. I mean, it's big enough. I mean, some people have got big feet. But this is just one from Repos Productions, and most people have heard of this game if they're into gaming, but if you're brand new, you definitely want to check this one out, because it's basically an activity more than a game. One player has to guess a clue word, and everybody else is working with them to help them guess it. But in order to give them the clues, they have to basically write on a little dry erase board in front of them a single word to do with whatever it is they're guessing, and hope that they don't write down the same word as other teammates, because if you do, the clue goes out of the game, and that leaves the single player with less to really go on. It's just one of those classic examples of I need to be clever, but not too clever, but then I also need to be relevant, but also not just thinking along the same lines as everybody else. And that's kind of the gist of it. You reveal the clues, they try to guess it, and you've got 13 cards, you try to beat your top score. That's literally it. There is no game here per se, really. I don't even bother to keep score. What this does, though, is enables a big group of people to play something for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, whatever. You can play this for as long as you like as a great filler, a palate cleanser. You know, I'm stuffed after that meal. Can we just do something simple now? Or we've just played this mass heavy game or a big tense co-op. Can we just play something light and fluffy? Well, this is light and fluffy. Anywhere up to 7 players can play this, although frankly people have house ruled how you can play it with more anyway. This is basically, I got a big group of people at Christmas. Most of them aren't gamers. We just want something a little bit light, you know, little fluffy, light-hearted game. Just one will do that perfectly for you. But maybe you need something a little bit more thinky. Well, you might want to consider Letter Jam from Czech Game Editions. Similar sized box and can cater for a large group of players as well, and very simple rules. Basically, you are trying to figure out what word your neighbour has given you at the start of the game, but in order to do that, the team has to spell out words in each different round that utilise letters that each player has. So the more letters from the players you can use, the more information you're giving them to work out, that's got to be my letter. Well, if that's mine, then hang on, that must mean my 5-letter word is probably this? We'll see. And that's kind of the gist of the game. There's a little side mechanic as to the fact that you've got to alternate between players giving clues, otherwise you run out of time. But for the most part, the rules are pretty straightforward. It's just a case of spell out words as efficiently as possible. So if you're into Scrabble or any other type of word game, or you just want to teach people how to spell words better, then Letter Jam will do it nicely for you, and definitely a lot more thinky and a lot more gamery than Just One is. Now, if you're like me, for our number 4 pick, you're probably into puzzles. Puzzles are great. Puzzles are cool. They engage your brain and they're simple enough to get into, but really sort of flummox you as to, how do I work this out? How do I work this out? You can do something as simple as a Sudoku puzzle and probably give yourself enough brain activity, but escape rooms have now become the rage, and exit games are one of my favorites in the lineup. Not my all-time favorite, but if we're talking family weight, if we're talking stocking stuffer size, then you can't go wrong with the Exit series. These cost about 10 to 12 pounds a pop. There's a ton of them now. This is the Pharaoh's Tomb. This is just one of like something about 10 plus of these things that have been released to date. And essentially, it's an escape room in a disposable box. Well, what do I mean by that? You literally destroy pretty much every content in this box in order to finish the game. You've got a little booklet and a bunch of random little pieces and some cards to get you through this. You basically go for the start, work your way to the end, but this has you like folding bits of paper, like cutting up the rule book, folding the box in half at times. You know, I'm not going to spoil, but you know, let's just say you really need to pay attention to everything that's inside these things. But they range in terms of difficulty, and by the end of it, you can't reuse it again. But for a tenner, what does it matter? You get yourself a good 90 minutes of solid puzzle solving fun for usually, it does say between 1 to 4 players. You're kind of more looking at, I'd say, 1 to 2. This is a great solo experience, great with 2. 3 or 4, you might find that there's not enough for each player to do, but like I say, maybe you just want to get your kids involved, and so this is a great way of doing it for a family of 4, shall we say. But these are great. Nice and cheap, not the biggest box in the world, so they'll fit in a stocking stuffer, and you can even see on the front what the difficulty rating is. So if you want to get into an introductory level, go find the Secret Lab, which is like the easiest one of the lot. But then this one, the Pharaoh's Tomb, is 4 out of 5, so this one's going to really test your brain, and believe me, it does. But maybe that's just me. But yeah, these are definitely solid. There's a lot of different escape room games out there, and you know, granted, there is one I prefer more, the Escape Tale series, but they're a lot darker, they're a lot bigger, they're a lot more grandiose, not quite suitable as a stocking stuffer. This one though, definitely meets the mark. The puzzle style games, but maybe we want to just go more into that kind of deduction side of things. I need a small stocking stuffer that is simply about figuring out a crime scene, for example. Maybe you're into that kind of detective stuff, but again, you don't want to get invested in those giant ones like, say, the Detective series from Portal or Chronicles of Crimes from Lucky Duck Games. Well, on the subject of Lucky Duck Games, we've got Crime Zoom. This is a small series of games. I believe there's only 2 or 3 of them out at the moment, but they'll bring out more. And this is essentially a 1-hour detective-style game, figuring out a crime. But these are very small, nice tiny little box. They'll still engage your brain a bit, but they're fairly simple. It's not like you should have too much chance of failing them, but you're certainly not going to be able to play this on autopilot. But the idea is that you have the panoramic picture of a crime scene done by a selection of cards. But then as you flip over each card, it kind of zooms the picture in to what it is you're looking at. So you can see from the scale of this room, there's the body on the floor. But then if you flip the card, it then zooms in on a specific aspect, and you have to basically try and solve what's going on. Now, they are quite simple. It's not like it's going to completely flummox your brain, but they're cheap and cheerful, nice and easy, very like neat little mechanic where you're basically using cards in order to play a small deduction game. But the fact that there's several of these already and there's going to be more in the future, these just make for a nice, ideal, you know, kind of stocking stuffer for less than a tenner, worth considering as an alternative. Now, of course, if I'm talking about stocking stuffers and I don't mention a micro game, you'd probably be crying foul at this point. And I need to mention possibly the king of micro games, the one that back in 2013 caused such a storm in terms of like how often it was getting played and how much people were into this kind of very tiny 10-minute filler little game. The Love Letter series is one you shouldn't underestimate, but this is a very specific one we've talked about. There is a Love Letter like style game that has been around for a while. This is the newest version called Marvel Love Letter Infinity Gauntlet, whatever. It's got a weird name, but it's basically Love Letter Infinity Gauntlet. And the idea is that it utilizes the same rules as Love Letter, where you basically draw a card and play a card, and each card has a different ability, and you're basing it on the number of the card as well. But this introduces an all versus one aspect. All the heroes are fighting against Thanos, and if you know anything about the Infinity War movies, you kind of got the gist of what this is about. You're trying to stop Thanos from getting the Infinity Stones. But the Thanos is controlled by one player, who has a larger hand, more powerful cards, and is just trying to wipe out the heroes or collect all the stones. The heroes have to utilize the different Love Letter style cards as a team to whittle down Thanos' life points before he gets all the stones. And it's going to happen. Eventually Thanos will just get all the stones by just the way the deck works. But if you can kill him off quick enough, then fair enough, you're in with a win. Now, this is a really cool twist on the Love Letter series. So, you know, Love Letter for me is one that I've kind of played to death, but with this one, it introduced a fresh new way of doing it. It can cater for anywhere from like 2 to 5 players, although I probably will say it's better around the 3 and 4 mark. I think it scales better then, but it's simple to teach players. It encourages cooperation with the hero team, but then if you're the sort of person that likes to be like a big massive overlord, or if you're just like me and just love Thanos as a character, then you can play as the bad guy, and honestly, that tends to work better when you're teaching this game. Play the villain and let the new players be the hero so that they can work together and you can kind of give them pointers. Very nice, and as you can see, a tiny little stocking stuffer. Comes in this little felt bag. I think it comes in a plastic box, but once you've discarded the box, this is it. Small game, takes you about, what, 20 minutes, 25 minutes tops to play a game. Very nice, very simple. And of course, if you want an alternative to this, well then, why don't you just pick up the other Love Letter? Yeah, I mean, pretty much pick whichever one you like is your poison. This is the original style Love Letter. Very simple. You want to try and get the highest value card by the end of a round or knock out the other players. It's a messed up theme. It doesn't really make any sense, but it's just basically playing cards for their abilities, trying to suss out what card the other players have and survive till the end of a round. Do this 4 times and you win the whole game. This has been reiterated about 1,000,000 times with Lord of the Rings, Batman even, and various other IPs, and they're pretty much the same, if not 100% the same. It depends on which one you get. But frankly, pick up any Love Letter you find. If the team-based idea or Marvel suits you, then grab Infinity Gauntlet, definitely. This is my one of choice. But if you just want the normal Love Letter and you're not interested in Marvel, then grab whichever Love Letter IP you like. There's even a Cthulhu one out there. Probably hold fire on the premium version unless you're a diehard fan of this, but yeah, any of the others in this tiny little bag will certainly not go wrong for a stocking stuffer. Now, if you're a relatively new gamer, or perhaps you've been playing games when you were younger, you probably are familiar with the standard deck of cards. The whole idea of playing a trick, playing a heart, playing diamonds and spades, and perhaps that mechanic is familiar to you and you want something a bit more modern that utilizes it. Well, you can't go wrong with either of the crew games. This is both of them here. The Quest for Planet 9, Mission Deep Sea, they're very similar, like 95% identical. Frankly, pick whichever one's your poison, although this is the more recent one, so perhaps we'll focus on the Deep Sea for the moment. But this is a really ingenious, innovative, trick-taking game, which is a cooperative game. You might be used to playing Hearts in the past, and you played it, or Top Trumps, and you played it competitively. Here, you work together, utilizing the same mechanic. I play a suit, highest card wins the trick, you have to follow the suit, and if you can't, you play any other card. But the idea with this is that you're playing little missions, and there's like 50 of them in the box, and they get progressively harder and harder with more weird rules that they throw into the mix. And the idea is that players are trying to win specific tricks. So a number of different cards will be laid out, and it'll be like, right, there's the 3 of pink. I'm just going to say colors here. 3 of pink, 4 of green, and each player has got a distinction as to, right, I need to win that card. You need to win this card, maybe in a specific order. And the idea is that you're playing cards in silence without any communication to try and win those specific tricks. All you have to communicate is a little token that you basically put on top, bottom, or middle of the card to signify highest, lowest, or my only card. That's it. Otherwise, you need to be getting into people's heads and thinking, you played that card, why? You clearly don't have the card you need to win the trick. I don't, which means you have. So if I play this card, that means you can play that card, you'll win the trick, great. That's a fairly simplistic example, and trust me, when you go through the scenarios, they get progressively more, not stupidly complicated, but oh my god, really hard. But this is a great stocking stuffer. This is probably one of my favorite trick-taking games that exists. It's just such a cool idea, enabling between 3 to 5 players. There might even be a 2-player variant in there, but I don't think there is. I think it's just 3 to 5. But it's just such a cool concept. A simple mechanic that we've seen before, unless you've never seen a deck of cards in your life, but then brought to a modern audience with a cool little twist to make it fun. The silent communication I'm normally not the biggest fan of in games, but in this one I just find it works. There's enough communication in here to get enough information across to make educated guesses or to actually think and come up with a decent solution. Unlike something like The Mind, for example, which I feel is just completely random, and that's a silent communication game as well. A bit like The Game as well. This is definitely the one that I put my stock behind in that sort of genre, and definitely one to consider. But Luke, that doesn't cater for 2 players, and I like trick-taking, but it's just me and my spouse. Don't worry, I got you covered. You're definitely going to want to check out these 2 as an alternative. The Fox in the Forest series. Co-op, competitive, pick your poison, doesn't matter. But this is another trick-taking game for just 2 players. In this one, you're sort of against each other trying to win a certain number of tricks without going over, and some of the cards have special abilities, but other than that, it's a very simple trick-taking game. The co-op version has you trying to remove diamonds and hearts from a map, but the way you play the tricks, you have to work with your opponent to try and play the right cards at the right time to move a little marker back and forth and remove the diamonds. Both are fantastic trick-taking games. It's just a case of whether you want the competitive or the co-op, or both. Pick your poison. But honestly, you can't go wrong with these two if you're a 2-player setup and you want to play a trick taker. And the number 1 stocking stuffer choice from myself and ZATU Games combined is probably the most gamery of games on this list. Most people have heard of a trick taker, most people have played escape room games, but this is definitely more of a modern style concept. Deck building. This Star Realms though, look at this. This is a tiny little box, and yet this gives you all you need for 2 players to have a decent amount of fun playing a solid deck building game with a lot of replay value in there. Essentially, you're trying to whittle down the opponent's life points. I forget what they call it officially, but basically it's life points. And you've got 4 different factions of ships. They're in a face-up display, and as a traditional deck builder, you start off with some very basic cards, and you use these cards to buy better ones, put them in your deck, cycle through until eventually you can get some powerful fleet in front of you, and you whittle down the opponent down to 0. The opponent is obviously trying to do that to you, and the 4 factions behave in different ways. The red one's good for discarding and trimming your deck. The yellow makes your opponent discard cards. Blue is good for healing and defense. The green is offensive and hits like a ton of bricks. But you can focus on a color, you could get a little mix of everything. It's just a very simple, but really pretty. I mean, I love the artwork in this, and just such a cool little game. And in a tiny little box. This is perfect stocking size. I mean, yes, you could go, it's downstairs. You could go nuts and play like the Kickstarter version of Star Realms, which has the giant box with a ton of cards in it. We're not talking about that right now, and you can get one called Frontiers, which is a slightly bigger box, but you can go for that one. But honestly, for what, like about 10 to 15 pounds tops, this gives you all you need to play Star Realms for 2 players. Like, if you're considering getting into Star Realms, then by all means, grab this little box as a little taster, slip it in the stocking, and have fun. I mean, I would say new gamers can get into this without too much trouble, but if you're gamers, then you'll easily pick this up. I mean, it's had a bunch of awards in the Dice Tower and BGG. I put it somewhere like in the 50s, I think, on my top 100. This is definitely a game I really love, and as voted both myself and ZATU, our top pick for a stocking stuffer. Now maybe you're like, well Luke, I want something a little bit more thinky than that. Not too thinky, I want light rules to teach my spouse, but you know, something that's really going to engage the brain even more. How can I not talk about this classic? Hanami Koji. You can get it in a slightly smaller box even with in some respects, but this is as big as it will get. This is fantastic. It's hard to describe. You are trying to influence different geisha cards, and there are cards for the items that the geisha use. But the way that you acquire these geisha is that you have 4 action tiles. Each of you has the same ones, and you have a starting hand of cards, and the idea is that these action tiles allow you to save cards for the end, scrap them out the round, do a kind of I pick you choose mechanic, which is I lay out 3 cards, the opponent picks one, I get the other 2, and after you've done all these in any order you like, you see who's got the most of a particular item card on their side of the geisha, and that's how they influence them. And you carry on until some of these influenced 4 of them, or a certain points value of them. It sounds a little bit simplistic, but believe me, when you are trying to decide what 4 action tiles, in what order to do those action tiles, the decisions are tense. It involves a little bit of push your luck, a little bit of getting into your opponent's head. It looks beautiful, it's simple to play, but it's every time I teach this to people, they go out and buy it. It's that much of a success. You definitely want to try this out if you can. It's one of my favorite 2-player games in existence, and of course, perfect stocking stuffer size. And as an honourable mention, if you want some accessories rather than actual games, you can check out a nice little dice tray that ZATU do with their branding logo on it. Don't have your dice knocking over pieces while you're playing games. Use this dice tray and keep it all condensed in one area. Or perhaps you want to add more player colours to your game and for some reason orange and black just haven't been represented enough. Then you can grab this nice little bag of custom orange and black meeples for your game and just add a couple of extra player colours for those who are into orange and black, for example. So there you go, 5 very cool stocking stuffers as voted for by myself and ZATU Games in combination. But what's the surprise I got for you? Well, I've talked about 5 great games here. The question is, do you want them? Well, now you can, because we're doing a giveaway for all of these. You can now win basically all 5 of these games in one pack. So the Crew, the Marvel Love Letter, the Exit Pharaoh's Tube, Just One, and a copy of the Star Realms box. You can enter this giveaway in order to win all 5 of these. And this is the first time I've done one, so bear with me on this. This is a very simple giveaway though. No weird, like, fantastical questions or anything. No mass effort. This is a giveaway that is open to everybody who watches my videos on a worldwide basis. Yes, even if you're in America, Australia, Asia, wherever else you watch my show from, you can enter this and ZATU will post it directly from their hub straight to you. So don't think that this is just a UK giveaway. And all you have to do is these few simple steps.
You have my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
So what are these simple steps? Well, first off, like, comment and subscribe. This is how we'll be able to track that somebody has watched the video and obviously is interested in the giveaway. And I always ask for a like anyway, so that should be no different. If you're not subscribed to the channel, then it will mean the world to me if you subscribe now. But mainly, I want you to leave a comment in the video with your choice of stocking stuffer. Do you agree with the choices we've made, including my alternatives? Or do you have your own stocking stuffer that you in the past, or even this year in fact, spoilers for those who might be watching, that you're planning to give to a loved one for Christmas? I want to hear your thoughts, I want to see your ideas. Maybe there's some I've not thought of, maybe there's some we haven't agreed on, or maybe there's just, you know, a really cool idea that you've done. I want to hear your stories, and so leave a comment for that. Next, you will need to click on a specific link which you can see at the bottom of this video, but it will also be in the description, to log on to a page on the ZATU website, where all you do is basically fill in your name and email address. So people can track what you've said on the YouTube comments, but also that they can get in touch with you once they do the draw for this. It is a random draw, there is no specific answer to this question, and if you're right, get into the draw. Anybody who fills out that form will be entered into the contest, and they will make the draw for this in a week's time. So this is airing on Friday the 3rd of December. They will make the draw on Friday the 10th of December, completely random. I won't be making the draw myself, it will be them, and they will announce the winner, and I will either do a little video or I'll put it on my community tab page to illustrate, oh, this person has won, be prepared to check your spam folder for, say, a ZATU email and that. So don't worry, we will make certain that if you win, you will get these games. And so that's literally it. Just a little bit of engagement on the video and the channel, a little bit of form filling on the ZATU website, and that's it. You're in with a chance to win those 5 awesome little stocking stuffer games. We can't necessarily guarantee that they'll arrive before Christmas. It really does depend on what part of the world you're in, because obviously delivering to the UK is a little bit easier than, say, delivering to Australia in a time limit. But either way, you'll be able to get a chance to win these 5 games, and best of luck to all of you that do it, but also thanks to you for everybody who has watched this video. Be sure to check out the ZATU website for other games that you might want to buy that aren't necessarily stocking stuffers, and of course don't forget to check out the rest of the content on this channel for more ideas of games that you'd like to purchase. So that's it from me and ZATU on this video. Take care, and remember, as always, it's only a game. Bye for now.